right, boys and girls, I'd like you to get your paper set up for the next with me problem. So pause the video. In a moment, we'll read about Mr. Sanchez. Make sure you leave yourself room to try all three of these. So go ahead and pause the video, and then we'll start the problem in a moment. So here's our story problem. Mr. Sanchez has bought 2 bags of garden soil for his tomato plants. In each hole, he put a tomato plant and 5/10 bags of soil. How many tomato plants did Mr. Sanchez plant? So again, when you do these on your own, you don't have to do all 3. You pick the one that makes the most sense. We're just going to model all 3 for this particular problem. And let's go ahead and fill in the information that we know. So we know that the total amount that he has, so where it says total, we know that he's going to have 2, and I'm just going to put bags there. Now, the size of each group or each section of the bag that he's putting in the ground, the size of group is 0 and 5/10 bags of soil. And what I'm trying to figure out is how many tomato plants can he plant using 5/10 bags of soil. So that's what we're trying to figure out. So go ahead and pause the video and let's go ahead and start our work here. All right, so looking at the first one, the number line, let's go ahead and draw that number line. Right, and when you're drawing your number line, just look at the maximum number, which is 2, and then your starting point is going to be 0. So 0 bags, then I've got 1 bag, and then my end point is going to be 2 bags. And I know that each time I am planting, I want 5/10. So I'm going to just go ahead and label these. This would be 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10. Ooh, I'm running out of 9/10, and then this would be 10/10 or 1 whole. So that's 1 whole bag. Go ahead and label the next section just like this one. So I went ahead and labeled my next section. Now, an easier way may have been for me to think that 5/10 would be half. That maybe would have been an easier way for me to do that. All right, so looking at my number line, what I'm looking at is how many 5/10 do I actually have. So I'm going to start back here. I need 2 full bags. So here is a group of 5/10, kind of jumping back. So that would be 5/10. Here's another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's my second group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my third group. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/10. There's my fourth group. So this is one way of proving that with those tomato plants, then I would have 1, 2, 3, 4. So he could have 4 How many tomato plants did Mr. Sanchez plant? 4. Okay, let's go ahead and try proving this with bars. I think for this one, this works nicely. So for the bars, I want to draw the total number of whole numbers that I have. So I have 2 whole bags. So this is 1 bag, and this would represent the second bag. Okay? And then since I'm taking these bags, and I know that 0.5, when I was dealing with this whole number here, 0.5 or 5/10, 5/10 is a fraction which is actually equal to half. So I'm actually going to take these bars and then I'm just going to split them in half because 5/10 is equal to half. So now that I've split them in half, how many halves do I have? Well, I've got 1, I've got 2, I've got 3, and I got 4. And that's the same answer that I got when I did it the number line way. So if this way makes more sense to your math brain, then maybe making the bars is going to be right for you. Okay, let's do the last one. This is related to groups. And again, you should be copying these down. If you need to pause the video at any point, go ahead and do that. So for this one, if I am looking at making little groups of where these tomato plants would go, I'm going to be counting by 5/10 until I get to the whole number of 2. So I'm going to actually count by 5s because I know a lot about decimals and I also know about counting by 5s. So when I'm doing my little circles or my pictures, I'm going to actually draw my tomato plants. So this would be 5/10 of a bag. This would be 10/10 of a bag, or 1 whole bag. So 5, 10, 15/10, which would be 1.5, 5, 10, 15, 20. Oops. 20, which would be 2 bags. All right, so looking at this, if I do 5/10, 5, 10, 15, 20, that is going to give me 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 tomato plant, here's my next tomato plant, here's my third tomato plant, here's my fourth one. Either way, all of these are drawn concrete representations of how to solve Mr. Sanchez's problem. Go ahead and take a picture of this in Seesaw, and you're going to try one on your own next.